Hello students, I am Namrata Panya, Assistant Professor of English Department at LG Institute of Applied Sciences. In this video, I am going to talk about the second chapter from your Unit 1, that is the best investment I ever made. This is according to the 2018-19 revised version of your BSc General English Semester 3 syllabus. So, let's start with the chapter.
The Best Investment I Ever Made by A.J. Cronin. Let us first talk about the author. Archibald Joseph Cronin was a Scottish physician. He started his career as a doctor and later on he moved on to writing fiction as well as non-fiction. He's written a lot of dramas as well as non-fiction prose as well as novels. He's most famous for the novels that he has written. His works are generally talking about the reality of the society at that time. He shows a lot of social criticism in his works.
Archibald Cronin was posted as a physician in the Royal Navy Volunteer Reserve during the First World War. His experiences during this time has influenced a lot of his works. He's a very good observer and you can see the social criticism comes from his experience of a war. A little trivia about our author, he knew people like Charlie Chaplin and he was the godfather of the son of Audrey Hepburn. He was a very sociable person.
Let us talk about the story. The story picks on one of the most crucial problems of the society, that is the lack of trust that we have in each other. The theme of the story is humanity. Our story starts with our narrator who's also a doctor and he's traveling on a liner from America. On the second day of his journey, he notices that there is a man who's staring at him. In fact, the man is following him with his gaze. But there is nothing importunate or annoying about this man. He's looking at our narrator with a shy reservedness. Following forenoon, this man is joined by a lady who's very clearly his wife. By this time, our narrator is intrigued by the couple. So he asks the steward and he finds out that they are Mr. and Mrs. John S. Mr. John is somewhere in his 40s, has a fair complexion, clear looking blue eyes and thinning hair, and he's wearing a very sober suit. Mrs. John is wearing browns and greys and she also looks like a quiet and restrained person, and yet they are staring at him. So our narrator is now waiting for them to approach him. But they don't do so until the last day of the journey. Even on the last day, it is Mrs. John who has to force Mr. John to approach our narrator. They come and introduce themselves and our narrator finds out that by profession, Mr. John is a solicitor. But he is also the director of an organization that is working for youth welfare. In fact, they have been doing this work for the last 15 years. Now he starts telling him the work that he has been doing. What they do is they look for young people who are in some or the other kind of legal trouble and they re-establish these young people, giving them better homes, training them in some or the other skill, so when they go out in the world, they can have a better future. The reason for their visit to America was this as well. They went to the city slums and they were looking for young people who needed their help. The way Mr. John was talking about the work that he has been doing made our narrator realize that he is really dedicated and passionate about the work that he is doing. He's not doing it for charity, he is doing it because he wants to do it. There has to be some reason behind such dedication. That is what made our narrator ask him why he is doing all this, what made him choose this line of work. That is when our Mr. John asked our narrator, "So you still don't remember me?" Now our narrator has never seen Mr. John in his life. He does not recall. That is when Mr. John reveals that he had been trying to contact our narrator for a very long time, but he was always hesitant about it. And he bends forward and he whispers something in our narrator's ears. This is when our narrator recalls the past meeting, the only time in his life when he met Mr. John.
In the first part of the story, there are few things that we need to notice. The first is Mr. John himself. He looks like a reserved person, yet he is openly staring at our narrator. This shows you that he does know our narrator, but he does not approach him. There is something that makes him hesitate, that is holding him back. Even towards the end, it is Mrs. John who forces him to approach our narrator. He does not go voluntarily. The second thing that we notice is because of the work that he is doing, he does not appear to be a creepy person or a stalker. In fact, the dedication that he shows towards the social work that he is doing makes us like him as reader, and it makes our narrator put his guard down and start liking him as well. The third thing that we notice is how he bends forward to whisper something in our narrator's ears. Now, when you whisper something, it is either because the thing that you are sharing is something that you are ashamed of, or it is a secret. This shows us that whatever he is talking to our narrator about, the past that he is mentioning is something that either is a secret or is something he is ashamed of. So now, let's move to the next part of the story.
When our narrator was young, he had a small practice in London. One night, it was raining very heavily, and yet there was a knock at the door. When he opened the door, there was a sergeant of police standing outside, dripping wet. He told him that there had been a suicide case and his help was required immediately. The sergeant took him to an old building where they reached the upper story. There they were joined by the agitated landlady. Our doctor could very clearly smell the odor of illuminating gas. The lady took them to an old attic where on the bed was lying the body of a young man. He appeared lifeless, but there was a chance of getting him back to life, and hence, with the help of the sergeant, our doctor started making efforts into bringing him back. They labored for an hour, but nothing happened. Another 15 minutes passed by. Now they were losing hope, and this is when this patient took a breath of air. This was like a miracle. It gave them hope, and they started working even more and making even more efforts into bringing this boy back to life. Half an hour later, the boy was sitting up, looking at them, completely horrified. He looked like a very simple boy, and he started telling them his story. Till now, he had been living with his uncle in the provinces. His parents were dead. His uncle didn't want to take his responsibility anymore, and so he got him a job as a clerk in the city and sent him here. He had been living here for 6 months all alone without any friends, and so he made friends with the wrong kind of people. Falling in bad company, he started making bets on horse races. Betting on these races, he lost all the money that he had, he lost all his savings, he lost all his belongings. On top of that, he had to pay a lot of money to the bookmaker. This is when he decided to steal some money from the office. So he stole it and he bet it one more time in the last race. Now he thought he would win, but he lost again. He was terrified of the prosecution. He didn't want to go to jail, and that is why he tried to commit suicide. When the 3 people who were listening to this heard all this, they were shocked. The sergeant asked the boy about the amount. The boy replied, 7 pounds and 10 shillings. Yes, 7 pounds and 10 shillings. That's it. The amount, the small, petty amount, shocked everyone even more. Everyone agreed that they had to give this boy a fresh start. The sergeant promised that he would not file a case against him. The landlady promised him that she would not take any rent for him for a month. Our doctor was probably making the least of the contribution. He gave him 7 pounds and 10 shillings that he could replace at his office so that nobody finds that he stole the money. The boy was given a second chance. This boy in the present was Mr. John. He had turned his life completely around. He had become a successful solicitor and he had also opened an organization that was helping young men like him. In the 15 years of his life, he may have helped so many young men become better. He was not only passing the good deed forward, he was doing with all the dedication that he could gather. This revelation at the end of the story makes our narrator think. He thinks about all the investments that he had made in his life for monetary gains, and a lot of them had been bad decisions. He thinks that this investment was the best and it would help him in the final reckoning when he has to answer to God about what he has achieved in life. He can give the example of Mr. John, whose life he helped change.
Now, let's first talk about the story that the boy tells us. This story shows us few things. The first thing is that it is very easy to get tempted. He gets tempted and falls in bad company, but that does not make him a bad person. So, it's very easy to judge someone, but what this landlady, the sergeant and our doctor do is they don't judge him. In fact, they help him. They help him get a better start. They help him get a better life. The faith that they show in him is what makes this boy have a self-realization. He realizes the mistakes that he has been making and he improves those mistakes. He becomes a better person. So, if we show only a little faith in someone instead of criticizing them, if we show a little trust in humanity instead of criticizing each and every mistake that we are making as humans, we will become a progressive society instead of the highly critical society that we are today. Now let's talk about the word investment. Whenever we think of investment, we think of monetary gains, we think of monetary transaction. This story talks about the investment of faith, the investment of trust that our doctor puts in this young boy that he has just met. Now, this one good deed that our doctor does is multiplied so many times through Mr. John, who grows up to be a good man and puts this faith forward in other people. That is why this investment is the best investment that our doctor has made. When our narrator is thinking about this at the end of the day, he mentions the day of the reckoning. In our culture, we have the concept of Pap and Punya. Punya is good deed, and the more good deeds you do, the more the chances of you going to heaven. In their culture, they have the concept of the day of reckoning or the judgment day, on which God judges the good and the bad deeds that you have done. Now, this one good deed that our narrator has done has multiplied so many times through Mr. John, and on the day of his reckoning, he can stand tall in front of God and tell him that yes, I saved one life, but through this one life, I managed to save so many more. This is why our narrator through this story is asking us to put more faith in people, because you don't know, but that one moment of faith that you show towards someone can change someone's life completely, can make someone's life better. Now, if you enjoyed this story, please like this video, and for other interesting stories, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.